Hey, I'm Ian from Synthstrom Audible from New Zealand, and we're the makers of the Deluge, which is a portable synthesizer, sequencer, and sampler. Basically a workstation which just does everything you need to make and perform music away from your computer. Right now, I'm just playing in our new 2.0 firmware release timeline view. So this is where you can lay out the instances of your loops and just have them play through automatically without touching it. For those of you who want to construct songs, but you're still able to have the full power of all your effects and filters, doing sweeps over everything. You can mute individual channels still. You can apply effects on just individual rows. And when you're in the timeline view like this, you can also quickly just go right back to your classic loop view by pressing song again. And now here we are in our loop view. And then I can go back to the arranger view, find where I want the song to kick in again, and then at the end of this loop, it'll come back into the timeline again. So this loop still has a little bit longer to go. We can change the zoom level, where we are in the song. Alright, I'll just stop this and I'll just give you a quick explanation of what the Deluge is and how you get started on it. So, the Deluge, as I mentioned before, it's entirely portable, so it runs off battery. Battery lasts for around about 6 hours. We've got a built-in mic. You can line in an audio source, and now you can sample from that, or you can use that as an oscillator. We've got stereo outputs, we've got MIDI in and out. You can send up to 16 different separate MIDI tracks. We've got 2 CV out, we've got 4 gates, and we've got USB which can power it, and you can also send MIDI over USB as well. So, let me just get this right. So, when you first load up the Deluge like this, you're just given a blank slate. You can make a little pattern here, and now you can decide whether or not that is a synth. Using the internal engine, you can select MIDI and you can dial which channel you want to send that through, or you can select CV and you can send which CV channel you want to put that through. You can choose what color you want that to be, and then you can, that's track view, you press song, that now it goes down to 1 row on here. We can add as many rows as we like, so we can now add another little pattern. Say we want to send that instead to CV. So we'll send that to CV too. We now have 2 rows, one going to MIDI, one going to CV. Maybe I'll use the internal synth engine for a little pattern. I can choose the presets I want to use. I can dial in parameters per step. And I can add as many effects and parameter changes per step as I like. So I can add some reverb on top of that. Put some delay on here. I can also record filter sweeps as well. Well, I can actually record any motion I want. So we've now got a random kind of sounding synth track. Go back to song view. I can start a new track. Maybe this one wants to use samples from the SD card. I can choose a now the same thing with samples. You can do effects per step as well. And again, you can record. zoom in. And a track can be any length you like. If I want to quickly double this, just do that, zoom back in again. I've now got 2 bars. Go back here. I can set each track to be of an independent length of each other. Create nice little kind of polymetric patterns. This is where you do a performance. Oh, those are MIDI and CV tracks, so we're not going to hear them right now. When you hold your finger down the row, you can then change the parameters. Now, that's the really, really basic, just like rudimentary introduction to it. So the Deluge is crazy deep on what you can do. For example, if I just went back into this synth track, let's mute that drum kit. Now I can do things like move this to the side. I can zoom in and change the resolution of where I move that. I can copy and paste this, change the resolution that it's at. I can copy and paste that same pattern at a finer resolution, which sounds pretty horrible, but I can do it. I can make longer notes. I can make a drone. Put some sidechain on there. I can add any length sample I like, so I can load up a kit with like a whole bunch of longer samples in it. Let's try this one. You could just throw a sample that plays the whole length of the sample if you like. Or instead, you could kind of like play it in by pressing record. I can add as many tracks as I like. I can just keep on adding more and more rows. I can add more synths. I can go through heaps of different presets, make my own sound design. I can add more MIDI tracks, more CV tracks, more sample tracks. Just keep on adding more and more tracks. I can change the colors. I can move these around. So maybe I want all my drums at the top, my MIDI tracks in the middle, and then I can, if I want, go into that timeline as I showed before. Start actually laying them out into a song. I have no idea what this is going to sound like, but let's just see. So obviously when you're playing in this timeline normally, and sorry, I've got some CV and MIDI tracks in there which you're not going to hear at all, but say they were sending CV and MIDI, you'd be hearing those right now. You can also you can time stretch samples, you can reverse samples, you can change the start and end time, you can slice samples, you can use this as like a live playable instrument. You can record a performance in as opposed to putting it on the grid if you'd prefer to kind of like play your melodies. You can, like, when you're playing the samples, again, maybe we'll just get rid of some of those. You can record in your performance here. You see how they're all white there? I've had this unquantized. If you want, you can turn the quantize on. Obviously that was a pretty loose sort of pattern. So you can get some pretty like wonky kind of stuff going on here with the quantize turned off. Now, one of the beautiful things about the Deluge is the power of this matrix, and if you want to start getting quite interesting, for example, with this hi-hat pattern here, I can do things like I can patch the pitch to an LFO. Oh, sorry, I should probably select the hi-hat pattern first, which I do by choosing that row. I could patch the master volume of that hi-hat to, say, random. Getting just quite ridiculous. I can add velocity on steps. Again, add a just start to like really destroy that pattern. If I want to get really ridiculous on it, start adding in more notes. I can start adding the probability that they play. I could send this to an up, add an arpeggiator on there. So that's just how kind of like messed up you can get with just like one particular sample, and you can like go back to your song again and you've got all your different random tracks going on. You know, you can like do whatever you want with the tempo. And as you might have seen there, I just hit the bat and that undid my tempo change. You can go as slow as you want. Add a bit of delay on. So yeah, that was just like a little bit of an intro and a bit of a jam, and the Deluge does crazy amount of stuff. There's hundreds of videos on YouTube of users, tutorials, walkthroughs. Our whole manual's viewable online, so please take a look and like go deep and whatever you want to do, hopefully it does it.